What's up, guys? We are here breaking down the Dixie Vodka 400 and just going to double check that we are live. And hopefully we are. So, hopefully we're live here. Double check. All right, we're live. All right, so anyway, first time doing this. Bear with me here, but breaking down the Dixie Vodka 400 here, and I'm here with Jake and Luke, two very talented guys here in the NASCAR industry here. And so for this race, we're at Homestead, 267 laps, and we're going to be talking some strategy. We're going to be talking some lineup construction as well. So we'll start it off with Luke and just kind of get into the strategy here for the Dixie Vodka 400. I know it's not going to be anything like the Daytonas or the Daytona Road Course. So kind of how are you looking at this in the strategy?
So this is our first 1.5 of the season. So we have to look back at last year and look at a lot of that data to kind of tell us which guys are the best place for today. This race is 267 laps. So this is the first race, in my opinion, where dominator points actually matter. So we're going to have to look to target guys that we think can lead laps and score fast laps. And in terms of the salaries, based off what I've seen, there's not a ton of value. So it's going to be hard to fit some of the top tier, like multiple top tier guys. So it's going to kind of come down to mid-tier guys and then pairing them with the right top tier driver, in my opinion.
No, I definitely agree. I think Draftkings did a very good job with the pricing this week. I mean, they made it very difficult because there's so many great plays up top and in that kind of 8,000 and up range, and then we'll talk about when we get below, but there's not really much down at the bottom. But as far as the lineup construction goes, Jake, what are you looking at for lineup construction? Are you basing your lineups more on kind of like a mid-range build? Are you doing like a stars and scrubs? How are you looking at it for this week?
I think it's all about getting the right dominators and getting the right mid-tier. So I'm looking at having, cores built around kind of that mid-tier dominator between the top guys, the top price guys, and the middle range. So I'm similar to Luke in my lineup construction this weekend.
Sweet. Okay, so yeah, we'll start with the high 10, around like the 10K range and up range. So we'll start with you, Luke. What is your favorite cash play, and then what is your favorite GPP play, tournament play?
So for cash, I'm going to probably go with Denny Hamlin. He's starting on the pole, and he won this race last year, leading, I think, around 140 laps. So, and he's only 9,600 on DraftKings. So he's very affordable, and he's probably going to be one of the higher-owned drivers in cash games. So I think that's a driver where you just eat the chalk and go from there. But for Denny, I have a couple concerns in tournaments. One, he's going to be pretty high-owned, which, for the pole sitter, anything can happen, so fading the chalk could pay off. And there's a competition caution on lap 25, so that's going to pile the field back up. And Hamlin could lose the lead earlier than we think, which might result in less dominator points, which could hurt him. So I think being underweight on Hamlin in tournaments makes sense, but I think for cash games, he's a lock in my opinion. And then for my favorite tournament option, I'm probably going with Chase Elliott. He showed a lot of speed at the intermediates last season, and he's starting 11th today. He finished second in this race last year and had a shot winning, but he wasn't able to. He offers place differential, and I think that he could be a threat to get out front, lead and score dominator points, and potentially make the optimal lineup. So I think Chase is one of the top tier options for tournaments. Again, I'm gonna probably have a decent amount of exposure to.
All right, so we're having some technical difficulties, having trouble hearing you guys. I don't know if it's on my end or your end, but I'm going to try to fix that up right now. Talking to Travis here. Yep, my apologies, guys. A little better, maxed out. Yeah. So he's saying it's a little better. So let's see if we can fix it. You can hear me fine. I can hear you guys okay. But, all right, so we'll kind of just restart a little bit. So hopefully you guys can hear us a little bit better. So, yeah, like you were saying, 10K and up range or around there. You like Hamlin as a A cash play is going to be very high owned, like you said. And as far as the tournament side of things, the GPP side of things, going to be high owned, which is a concern. I think another concern is going to be that competition caution. Last year we saw that the competition caution, sometimes when they pit, they lose that dominating spot. And that's why I don't really like that competition caution, especially considering like if I want to really go hard on the pole sitter there, because he does tend to lead after that caution there. So that's my only concern there for Hamlin. So I do like him for cash as well. As far as tournaments, I'm right there with you, but the only concern is going to be the ownership there. So we'll get into Luke. What is your favorite cash play for 10K and up, and then favorite GPP play? Or Jake, my bad.
Yeah.
So for top tier, I'm looking at Kevin Harvick starting from 4th. Obviously, the first 2 races of the year were not intermediate races, which is kind of Harvick's bread and butter. So going to that style of track for the first time this season, Harvick will be a little bit under-owned, people not having that data to look at. So I expect Harvick to run up front. Definitely a potential lap leader. He's won here at Homestead before. He won here in 2015 when he won the title. So Kevin Harvick, as a chart car, Harvick's always consistently fast. So I think Harvick's a really good play for the top tier for cash. And then for a tournament play, Kyle Larson starting from 17th. Larson, these highline tracks, Darlington and Homestead, this is where he thrives. Now he's in a Hendrick car, which is an upgrade over Chip Ganassi Racing. So the potential for him to move up quickly through the field and lead laps is really high. I feel higher than it has been for him back when he was in the 42. So I expect Kyle Larson to move up through the field and be a pretty safe play this weekend. So I really like him in tournaments as a more expensive play.
Okay, and just for as far as the sound goes, they said that they think that Luke's earbud has the mic and Jake's doesn't. So tell Jake to talk into the other earbud when he's talking. So maybe that will help the sound a little bit. All right. So anyway, yeah, totally agree with what you guys are saying. And then we'll get into the mid-K range a little bit, and kind of interesting range here. I think there's a lot of decent plays. You got Matt Benedetto starting 37th, Tyler Reddick starting 35th. I think Alex Bowman, somebody that's going to go under-owned. But, as far as cash and GPP goes, Luke, who is your favorite cash play for this mid-range, and who is your favorite tournament play as well?
Okay. If you guys have been looking at other people's content, I'm sure you already know this by now, but the lock in the mid-tiers are Reddick. Homestead is a track that Reddick's had a lot of success at. We just saw him finish second in the Xfinity Series race, and he's starting 35th and offers a ton of place differential. He finished 4th in this race last year and scored, I think, around 40 fast laps, which is 20 extra fantasy points. With the amount of upside he has at his price, I think he's a very solid cash option and a very solid tournament play this weekend.
Sweet.
And then for my favorite tournament play, you said it earlier, but I'm going to go with Alex Bowman. I think he's going to go very under-owned because of the under differential starting further back in the field. But we have to look at that Bowman had a lot of success at the intermediates, especially at the end of the year last season. And he's starting 13th, and I think that he could potentially be a sneaky dominator. He could get out front at some point during the race, run some fast laps, and finish inside the top 5. I think he's going to be low. It makes it a great pivot for GPPs.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, so Jake, how about you? Favorite cash play for the mid-range, and then favorite GPP play?
So for cash mid-tier, I really like Matt Benedetto. Starting from 37th, the Wood Brothers Racing has had kind of a tough start to the year, but I think this is a good opportunity for them to rebound. Benedetto's had, I think, his last 2 start races at Homestead, he's had pretty solid finishes inside the top 20. So to me, that's a pretty safe play in that equipment, Penske affiliate, as the Wood Brothers have been for the past few years. And for tournament, I really like Austin Dillon as a mid-tier play. Starting from 22nd, has a really good track history at home. Has finished top 5 there, actually, which is really impressive considering where the RCR equipment usually runs. And RCR seem to be on the upswing as of late. Over the past couple seasons, they've been improving. So I really like Austin Dillon starting from 22nd. I think there's a very high potential there for a top 10, potential top 5.
Yeah, I'm definitely there with you. Austin Dillon, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the guy myself, but he's very good here. I mean, average finish of 8 in his last 3 races. So yeah, I'll definitely have a lot of Austin Dillon here. Hopefully it doesn't burn me, but I like him a lot. So we'll get kind of into the bottom tier range, and this is probably for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people, it's going to be probably the hardest range on the whole slate because there really isn't much. I mean, in the low 7Ks, you got guys like Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain, Bubba Wallace, but below that, there's really not many good plays. So what are you guys looking at down here in this bottom range for cash and GPP? We'll start with Luke. What are you looking at?
For cash games, I think the safest guy below 7,000. I mean, he's gonna be pretty high because there's not much value, but I'm gonna probably go with Anthony Alfredo. The lack of Cup experience is concerning, but he's starting 27th. And Front Row Motorsports had a lot of success with the intermediates last season. He's starting 27th, so he offers some place differential. I don't think he has the highest upside in the world, but I think he could finish around 20th and get there and return some cash games. So I think he's a relatively safe option that's playable for cash and tournaments.
Okay, how about you, Jake?
So for me, Luke said Alfredo, so I'll say the other guy, to me, that's a pretty clear play down there, Chase Briscoe. Starting from P30 in SHR equipment, Briscoe obviously doesn't have much Cup experience, but in that equipment, starting that deep in the field, to me, that's a great play. Briscoe, if he just works his way up to the field methodically, he's around a lot of guys down there that aren't in as good equipment. So the potential for a top 15 is definitely there. Potentially a top 10, we'll have to see. I don't want to get people too hyped on Briscoe. But to me, in terms of the equipment and where he's starting, he's a really good play starting down there.
I like it. So would I be crazy for maybe taking a shot on Quinn Huff this week, starting 38th?
It's tough to do that. That range at the bottom of the pricing with the kind of the crappier cars, the Rick Ware cars, the Starcom cars, for them to work, they need attrition. And usually when they do gain positions, there's someone else who starts back there that does more. So I think it's tough. I mean, I get it if you're playing him, you're probably trying to fit a bunch of more expensive guys in your line, but I think it's a stretch. Things have to go just perfectly for someone like Quinn Houff to work. So I would say if you're doing him in a lineup, okay, but I don't see it working.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that probably very not often at all works, but sometimes there's instances where they're like 1% owned and you'll find them in the optimal lineup. Taking it down by yourself. So yeah. Other than that, I'm with you guys. Alfredo down there, don't hate it. LaJoie down there, don't hate it. You guys talk about Daniel Suarez. What do you think about Suarez this week? Starting 21st. I'm not the highest on him, but I do see some traction towards him this week.
I like Suarez, actually, starting from there. Trackhouse is a new team. They have RCR, Alliance Affiliation, whatever you want to call it. And I think that people might kind of be underselling that equipment. I think that car is more competitive than what people think. Last week, I liked him more than Ty Dillon at the road course. Those were kind of your two cheaper plays, and Daniel Suarez ended up doing more. So I think Daniel Suarez in that equipment is a pretty solid play. His Homestead stats aren't spectacular when he was in better equipment. He was in SHR car, when he was in the JGR car, but I hope that kind of gets people to maybe sleep on him a bit. So I kind of like Suarez as a sneaky potential optimal at that price.
I don't hate it. All right, so we'll kind of get into the your driver to win, and then the long shot. We'll start with the driver to win. We'll start with you, Luke. Who do you think wins today's race?
My gut says Chase Elliott. I don't know why, but I've been feeling it all week.
Elliott.
He just choked at the road course last week, so I think he's going to want some redemption. I think that he's going to go out there and dominate and win this race.
Okay,
so
how about
that's my?
Okay, how about you?
I'm split right now. I see it either being Denny Hamlin and Harvick, but my gut tells me it's going to be Denny Hamlin. Starting from the pole, he's going to have clean air early in the race, so he's going to have good track position. The crew's going to have early opportunity under the competition caution if they'd like to make adjustments to the car. So I think Denny Hamlin, starting up front in an intermediate race. Hamlin's team seems to do well during these day races. Harvick's team also seems to do well during day races, but So to me, at the intermediates, so to me, both those guys have the potential to lead laps and win the race, but I'm leaning towards Denny Hamlin for this race. So I would say I wouldn't be surprised to see someone like Kyle Larson also win. You know, he runs the high line and he'll work his way up the front and probably battle with those guys for the win. But I think since this is his first race back in a while, an intermediate, I think that it's going to be someone that's that was racing last year and has had more recent experience. So I'm going to say Denny Hamlin's going to win this race.
So Hamlin, Elliott. If I had to take a pick, I'm going to say Kyle Busch. I mean, Kyle Busch is just someone that really did struggle last year, which was surprising. And I do think he bounces back this year. I know it sucks without not having practice. I know he's making excuses week after week about the no practice thing, but this is one of his best racetracks. I mean, he has the best average finish in the last 3 years. He has the most laps led here in his career. So I wouldn't be completely shocked if Kyle Busch got up there and found himself a win today. So as far as the long shot to win goes, we'll start with you, Luke. Who do you think is a long shot to win?
I think if you're betting on a long shot, I think you have to go with Tyler Reddick. He's been so good at Homestead. He finished 4th in this race last season. So I think that if there's a late yellow or he's up there battling, I think he could be the guy that gets the lead and wins this race. And I think he's like 25 to 1. So if you're betting on a long shot, I think that's the best option.
All right, how about you?
I'm liking Christopher Bell, coming off of a win at the Daytona Road Course. He's starting up front in JGR equipment. I think Christopher Bell is definitely someone that could pull off this win. He obviously has some veterans to contend with up front. He's got Denny Hamlin, he's got Kevin Harvick, he's got Chase Elliott, guys that have been around in the Cup Series much longer than he has. But I think based on his ability and the equipment he's in starting position, I really think that the stars could align today and Christopher Bell could win back-to-back races to start the year. So I would say Christopher Bell is my long shot pick.
Yeah,
as Luke just mentioned, he's 33 to 1.
33 to 1. Okay, yeah, that would be crazy back-to-back for Bell. We didn't really touch on it. Are you guys going to have any Bell exposure on DraftKings? I know me personally, he is starting 3rd, so it is kind of hard to play him from a DraftKings perspective, but he is 7,600. So do you guys think there is potential that he does get up there and lead some laps? And at 7,600, you really don't need to lead much, but maybe just finish in that top 5. Are you guys going to play any Bell today?
It's tough because there's a lot of guys in that price range that are starting further back that'll more than likely outscore Bell. So it's really hard to want to play him. But I think that if you're making a lot of lineups, I think it does make sense to have him in a couple just in case he gets out front and leads, because he's in the 20 for JGR, which is good equipment. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him get out front, especially with his coming off of a win at the road course. I think Bell could be a sneaky dominator that will have very low ownership this weekend. So I'm not going to have a lot of exposure, but he's definitely going to pick a couple of my lineups.
I like it. Yeah, if I was to pick a long shot, I'd probably go with Alex Bowman. I don't think a lot of people are talking about him this week, and he's actually pretty decent here. So I'm going to take Bowman there, and we'll kind of get into the listener questions, and a lot of it is kind of sound problems. We'll make sure to have that fixed by next week, but we do have a couple in here. What's up, Jaquez in the chat? Let's see here. So William Byron or Matt Benedetto?
I knew this question was going to come up. It's very close, but I don't know if they're talking for cash games or tournaments, but I think in cash, I think Benedetto's the better play, and then for tournaments, I think Byron's the better play, because I could see Byron finishing inside the top 5. Well, Benedetto could finish inside the top 10, but I don't see top 5 for Benedetto. So I think Byron for tournaments and Benedetto for cash.
Yeah, definitely agree. All right, so that's about it. Sorry guys about the audio. We'll try to fix that for next time. But yeah, just final thoughts on the slate as a whole. I think it's a very interesting one. I think that the DraftKings did a really good job at the pricing. Lots of great plays up top and in that kind of mid-range. Down below there isn't much, but we did give some plays over there as well. So be sure to check out the website, dfskarma.com/shop. Sign up for the NASCAR. There you'll get the final thoughts cheat sheet. There's articles on there. I believe there's a free one on there as well. You get the core plays and the props for access to all the NASCAR premium content. Thank you all for tuning in, and good luck on the Dixie Vodka 400. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.